Hi everyone, I am Jasenia, New England Psychic Medium. I've come on today. I really wanted to create this video. I started a discussion on my Facebook page about certain energies and blocks and how they kind of come into fruition in our life. Most of us don't even recognize we have a block. And the reason we don't recognize we have a chakra block is because we were born that way. So that's our max level of understanding. That is our full potential. That is all we think we are capable of. When I talk about awakening, I always tell people that awakening doesn't happen in one time or in one flow. It happens in a multitude of experiences as we break self-limiting beliefs. So every time we expand our way of thinking or break through a limited self-belief system, we expand and grow and grow and grow, and we connect more and more and more to that sense of all-knowing energy or oneness. Now, it's pretty fascinating because the more we open and expand, the less reactive we are. Why? Because every single trigger in our life is made to bring us to a place that needs healing. So essentially, the emotional body is the key to understanding our blocks. So if you have an overwhelming amount of emotion, most of the time, those are representative of energetic blocks. And the reason why we have such a hard time comprehending those or putting those together is because we just don't have the key code. We don't have the understanding. When we look back to civilizations such as ancient Egypt, they had a very deep understanding of energy. They even created pyramids for energetic realignment and reconstruction. So essentially, they knew that one misalignment meant many misalignments, and then they would spend time healing, and they were like the hospitals back then. So they would go into a pyramid, realign their energy, and then leave healthier versions of themselves. So I had this great discussion on my page, and I wanted to talk about energy. Of course, I see energy. I see chakras. I see past lives. I see the soul. I see soul origins. I see deceased souls. So I see a lot of different things. And it's pretty fascinating because when I look at somebody's energy field, sometimes we have those things on it. So I've made a couple of illustrations to make this a more visual learning experience, if you can read my writing. So here's image one. Now, a lot of my clients come to me with this kind of energy right here, okay? They have internal blocks, and these internal blocks tend to push their soul energy outward. It's like rejection of the soul. So their soul is not integrated with their physical body because they have a lot of traumas within their chakra structure. Our chakras are a filing system. In our chakras, we have all of our past lives. Our chakras are themed by certain experiences, and they also house our gift structure. So if we have a block here, we have a block to our gifts. Now, as I mentioned, we can just go through this chakra right here if it's blocked, and we can take out all of the lives that have obstructed, blocked, or traumatized us, and we can heal them over many lifetimes. Or I open it up, check all the lives, pull up any ones that need healing. I actually heal them with my spirit team and your spirit team. And then now we have a full functioning chakra that now begins to integrate with the soul. I'm sharing this information because people seem to think that it's super easy. And I feel like that's why so many of us get so stuck. This is not just looking through one life. Imagine that. One life's trauma is difficult enough to address. Speaking as somebody who's been through a lot of trauma in this particular life, one life of trauma can be overwhelming in itself. It's enough to debilitate a person and to send a person into a negative growth spurt. It's just the way that it is psychologically. Imagine 300 to 700 lives that you are storing within your chakra structure. It's not an easy feat. It's overwhelming. It's emotional. Sometimes these traumas are so severe that you literally do not want to relive them again. You have blocked them out. You have stored them, locked them in a box, threw away the key, and never want to see them again. They can be extremely traumatizing. Even healers have a hard time accessing their most traumatic lives. My most traumatic lives were accessed during a guided past life regression with a past life regression therapist. And I got so ill, I thought I was going to throw up. The room started spinning around me, and I just wanted to leave the experience altogether. But it was a life of tremendous guilt, and I just didn't I couldn't face it. I couldn't face that life of tremendous guilt without some kind of assistance and support. And the interesting thing is, so if we have this chakra here, right, let's pretend the root chakra is just one huge filing system. Let's say the major block there is this one really traumatizing life, this one really traumatizing experience. Removing that experience or healing that experience once and for all and sending that fragment of yourself to peace may now automatically start flushing the other lives. Naturally, they kind of find their way down into the healing process. They come through as grief, emotion, guilt, understanding, reflection. So after we remove the traumatic experiences, many times we have a bunch of synchronicities and knowings and just things coming forward that align and make sense as we continue the healing process on our own. And we just get stronger and stronger and stronger over time. But it's kind of like cleaning out the dam and then allowing the water to flow again. So on top of that, we don't just have blocking lives that have caused this trauma and emotional issues. So we do have themes here too. I'll go over the themes. But we also have leaks to our auric field. So this is what I call the auric field. This is essentially it's our soul energy. This is the soul fragment we are supposed to be integrating with our physical body, but we do not do that when we are traumatized. I lost my nail. So we don't do that when we are traumatized and we reject it. So we leave it out here. But the interesting thing about that is if we've got traumatic experiences, we have leaks, tears, scars, negative attachments and debris in our auric field because it's essentially unprotected. Now I have lots of images I drew out for you guys, so I hope you appreciate my tremendous artwork. But the proper way eventually to house the soul would be underneath the skin. And I know a lot of people don't think like, now red just happens to be the only marker I could find in my crazy house. Oh look, it looks like it's me. So this energy is the proper way to house energy within our structure. We're actually supposed to protect our energy by pulling it in under our skin. We fully integrate it with our chakras, our body. We are one. Our energy becomes infinite because we are fully connected to earth, fully connected to spirit. We can cycle energy. We can heal cells. We can our cells regenerate naturally. We heal. We protect ourselves. Illness doesn't affect us the same way. Do we still get sick sometimes? Yes, but illness does not affect us the same way it used to. And look at this is protecting our energy. Our skin is a natural protective barrier to negative energy. So if we are healed and integrated, then our skin protects our soul. Our soul is where it belongs, inside this structure here. And this would be like the infinite cycling of energy. Now, if we have a crown chakra disruption or a root chakra disruption, this infinite cycle of energy does not continue this way. It actually starts reverting and creates toxic situations in your environment so that you can absorb energy from your environment to feed or replace the lack of energy you're getting from source or in the lack of energy you're getting from earth. So this looks like toxic relationships, dependent relationships, overbearing, over controlling relationships, drama, Verbally toxic aggression, yelling at people, essentially yelling at people creates emotional disruptions and trauma. Therefore, you're creating energy, negative energy. So we feed off of localized negative energy if we are disconnected from source and earth. So if you find yourself desperately pulling in toxic relationship situations and people, many times it's because you have some major disconnection with the crown or the root chakra. So that one's important to note. These are all very important. Let's talk a little bit about these chakra themes. Now, the root chakra, these are just the major chakras here. We do have tons of other minor chakras within the energetic system, but the way that the filing system works is the root chakra associates with the local chakras. Like we have small chakras within our feet. So if the root chakra is blocked, usually that would block and starve our local chakras within our feet. That's why we have a hard time connecting and rooting to earth. Now, the root chakra is blocked by situations of tremendous lack of safety. It is safety, it is home, it is structure. So when we destroy this or damage this in any way, we feel unsafe, we feel nervous, we feel like the world is out to get us. We might feel disconnected from our local family, friends, community, and others. Now, the sacral chakra is blocked by shame. When we feel blocks here, we feel uncomfortable in our body. We feel uncomfortable expressing ourselves. We might even shame others for expressing themselves. This would be people who comment on people's being too voluptuous or showing too much cleavage or being too comfortable in their skin, or how dare she wear that? That is shame. You are shaming other people because you are uncomfortable in your own skin, and you carry trauma in your sacral chakra because you have been victimized for your body. Solar plexus, in these lives that I see, solar plexus is our internal reality versus our external reality. Who we want to be versus who we end up being because of societal expectations. So when we have a trauma there, usually these traumas are associated with lives of prominence, presence, or fame. And the reason is because many times people are so scared to be who they want to be because they feel like they have to meet certain standards or guidelines that society has placed for them. For example, being a spiritual teacher. I have 4 kids. My life's crazy. Sometimes I record in a car. I'm authentic. I'm me. It is what it is. But some people might be inauthentic and they might pretend to be somebody they're not. They may put on a fake persona. They may not want people to see that they're human because they're trying to misguide or mislead people to this false perception of who they expect others to think they are. The heart. The heart is blocked by grief and guilt. A lot of, lots and lots of guilt. Essentially, if you have a life where you feel like you have hurt or harmed somebody you loved, you would carry that guilt with you within the heart chakra. Now, the throat is blocked by toxic language to ourselves and others. It's blocked by negative speech patterns, by sometimes it's blocked by verbal abuse to the person. So essentially you absorb so much verbal abuse that you now begin to speak it to yourself. And keeping quiet. So if you felt like your life mission or path included some kind of activism or defending somebody for some kind of situation, but you kept your mouth shut and people were hurt in the process, again, throat chakra blockage. And then the third eye is blocked by fear. I forgot a little X because of the third eye and then the crown. But third eye is blocked by fear. So essentially anything that is so traumatizing to us that we simply don't want to see. The interesting thing about this is it can create a personality disassociation. So for example, we might have a memory that's so guilt-ridden, traumatizing, overwhelming, that we don't want to face, that we block that memory out and we protect it with extreme self-defense measures. Nobody will ever get to that memory. Nobody will ever pull up that history. And we get aggressive when people touch upon the subject. That is a major red flag that there's something there, that you're hiding something that you don't have the courage to address. Something so debilitating that opening it up might actually cause you problems energetically. It's emotional. Essentially, your life feels like it's going to fall apart. But that's not a bad thing. I always say with that idea of falling apart, you're letting go of everything that no longer serves you. And you're opening the doors to constructive energy made to heal and support you. So it's actually not a bad thing at all. It's necessary and important work. Sorry, I have to turn on my heat. I'm in the car. It snowed today. Thought it was supposed to be spring almost. So the crown chakra is blocked by disbelief. So essentially, this happens a lot in lives of, like, when we talk about, let's see, lives of, what did I just read yesterday? An earthquake. An earthquake destroyed and killed a bunch of people. There's this idea that they're being punished by God. They're being punished by spirit, that the gods have rained terror upon them, that they are all going to hell. So it's this disconnection from source, because we feel like source is punishing us. We have a lot of that in very religious lives and structures, or even with cults, as cults were a disconnection from everyone else in a belief in usually a demonic entity. So your separation and then physically connecting to something else. So that's what we have in the crown chakra. Now, all of this information is based off thousands of readings from thousands of people all over the world. It's not connected to any other information. And I do teach a class, Spiritual Development with the New England Psychic Medium, and it includes 3 reports made to realign this energy and heal. And sometimes I've gone over like 30, 40 lives just with those 3 reports in that class. So it can be very, very helpful. But this is just something we touch upon that I thought would be supportive and helpful for people. So let's see what other images we have here. I wanted to explain. So we explained that when we have a major block to the crown or the root, usually what we have is a reversal, is one of our chakras pull in energy from our outside environment and create toxic situations so that they could feed off their local environment. Now, we all have a lot of toxic people in our lives. Yes, we all have a lot of people who refuse to heal. And in that refusal to heal, they do create drama and toxic situations. This is why, energetically, the only way to save them, save the people that you love, is to cut yourself off. You have to stop being a food source. So when you stop being a food source, other people stop being a food source. Essentially, they're cut off from their local environment and they are forced to go within. They are forced to say, well, what else is there if everybody has cut me off from feeding energetically? So it's actually helpful and productive to cut off toxic relationships, because then eventually they have to go inward. And while you are feeding this toxic relationship, regardless of the relationship you have, obviously dependent children, young children are different, but everybody else falls into the same category. Regardless of the relationship you have to be able to cut them off if you care about them, because that is how they eventually heal. I can't believe it snowed. Okay. So, toxic relationships. Now we have a lot of people right now, currently, have this energy. Okay, this is a major block to the root, major block to the root, sacral, lower chakras. Your lower half is disconnected. It almost looks like you're allergic to connection to earth. This is a major problem. A lot of spiritual people don't understand the necessity of connecting to earth. We are literal earth vessels. If we cannot have a good relationship with earth, be open to earth, admire earth, be out in earth, enjoy earth's beautiful energy, then what happens is we disassociate, we disconnect. What this leaves is ridiculous, erratic, overcharged energy that's too scared to ground. This is a lot of negative energy. It's a lot of confusion. It's a lot of stress. It's a lot of overthinking. This is where most of us are at, because in times of chaos, most of us blame Earth. So I've been hearing this a lot, like, you know, this is some kind of punishment, Earth's punishing us. Well, that's not going to help, right? You're disconnecting your energy here. A lot of people do this anyways, because we've got so, as a society, especially here in the United States, we've gotten so focused on our physical, you know, like our objects or material things, that we forget about, that we're essentially trying to replace Earth with material things, with distractions. The more void and disconnect we feel, the more we push out to material things. We want purses, you know, expenses, nice cars. We reach out and look for other things to fill that void, but it obviously never works. It creates more disassociation, more disconnection, and then more erratic energy. So this really looks like anxiety or stress or overthinking, being in your head a lot. A lot of people are like this, and they essentially wander. Their mind just is constantly wandering. And this is really dangerous energy. First of all, it's very hard to put together coherent thoughts when you're like this. It's very hard to put together a process A to B. It's very hard to kick out negative energy or negative influence, because your grounding and flushing system is completely dysfunctional. You have no creative thinking or problem solving. And you have a very hard time with your identity. You don't know what to do. Essentially, you just do what you're told. And then that creates a lot of overthinking and stress. Now, how would we correct this? Again, the root chakra is one of the hardest chakras to heal. I even recently, after everything I've done and all this work that I do, I recently had another root chakra block show up, and I had to go and it was really difficult. I had to go within, and I had to really face this traumatic energy and traumatic memory, and then release it myself. But that's because I had the experience and I had very little fear. And the reason I have very little fear is because I've seen so much, you know, with other people's lives, that I'm kind of open to anything at this point. So the root chakra is one of the hardest places to heal, because it is home of the most traumatic lives. It is our survival system. So it is our safety. So essentially anything that blocks it is anything that made us feel completely unsafe and shot us into survival mode. So this is instinctual trauma. This is violence trauma. This is aggressive trauma. This is being violently beaten, abused, traumatized, captive, tortured. These are some of the worst lives. So yes, a root chakra trauma and block can be really difficult to manage and face. Very difficult, in fact. The problem is that if we have a root chakra trauma, most of the time, basic crystals, herbs, and meditation aren't going to really work on their own. You can kind of move energy around it, but it's still there and blocking. And eventually that energy is going to start backing up again. And then you're going to have, you know, this is kind of like, Reiki is a beautiful thing. I love Reiki and I recommend people do it. I feel like it's medicine for your soul structure and energy. But the issue is that Reiki's not going to remove these blocks. It's going to fill that space with energy, create energy flow that's temporary, and eventually that block is going to create more backup. So the issue here, of course, is that the chakras are like a dam. They're like a flow, a river. So one block means all blocks. Root block means there's no connection to earth, means we're not going to ground our energy, means that we can't use our gifts. Because first of all, we don't feel safe, we don't feel structure, we don't feel secure, but also the rest of our chakras are technically blocked up now. So the root chakra can be the most difficult or overwhelming or important life to unblock, yet the most difficult. I always recommend that if in times like this, now we're dealing like, even if I work with a client, I realign all their energy, I clear them of all this trauma, they're grounded and rooted. Times like this, current pandemic and world chaos and stress will actually revert your root chakra. I mean, think about it. We're stuck inside. We can't leave. We're so nervous. We aren't spending time outside. We aren't going for walks. So that in itself reverts. You know, we're thinking about ourself, our safety, our security, our home, our house, our family, our local energy. We're naturally pulling away from the collective, and we're focused on ourselves, not our community. So again, that's a natural, you're reverting your energy, you're pulling it back up, and you're terrified to ground and connect. In a situation like that, I tell people to go for a walk. This is a temporary shift. Therefore, a solution can be that simple. Focus on grounding. Yes, you can now alter this by focus on grounding, by connecting to earth, by going for a walk, by spending time in nature, and imagine your energy flowing through your root chakra down into earth. And earth is a natural transmuter of negative energy, so it actually takes all that negativity out of your system, flushing your system, connecting you, grounding you, guiding you, clarifying you. And then it transmutes that energy to beautiful, productive energy, action, love. So that can be helpful if you are already clear and aligned. And one of my clients has already done all this. And then now all of a sudden you're feeling the stress and chaos of people in your environment. Go for a walk, spend time in nature. So the other one I wanted to talk about is the opposite. Like if we have a disconnect from our crown, third eye visions, upper chakras, and a very strong connection to earth, it can make us very, very stubborn, very focused on being still, not changing, not creating change. We are not visual. We are not looking for the future. We are not looking for connection. We are not looking for spirit. We're not looking for guidance. We are essentially stuck on only what is now. And it's destructive because we're not aligned to the rest of our energy. We're not at flow. We don't feel like we're creating. It almost becomes like a waste of a life. So these are people that never change anything ever. And they, like a tree, I always remind them just like a tree, they stay stuck, and whatever happens to them, and everything else is just kind of like up in the air. This is actually a lot more rare. Most people are, again, the opposite. They're disconnected from earth and overthinking and stuck. And in this connection, I have to note something. In this connection here, a lot of mediums and psychics are with this energy. And it's because they're trying to feed their upper chakras and put no value into their lower chakras. Distributing your energy properly, aligning your energy properly will actually make your gift a lot stronger and a lot clearer. Don't be distracted by this large cloud. It's literally all full of anxiety and what ifs and conspiracy theories. That's what that looks like. So it becomes a major block to our creative thinking and problem solving and intuition. Now, intuition is our connection to our higher self. So when we are aligned, our intuition is just much louder. And the reason is because we don't have all these obstructions, all these emotional reminders, all of these energetic blocks. We are fully aligned to our soul. Therefore, our senses are picking up our soul level information. Instead of being disconnected and being outside of our body, it's now inside of our body, meaning our ears, eyes, even channeling our speech. We're actually picking up our soul's information, and we can speak it, hear it, see it. So we are aligned better. When we are aligned to our higher self, we are essentially aligned to our soul group. Our higher self is home in our soul's home dimension. So we are connected now to so much more energy than just ourselves. Our gifts naturally amplify as a side effect to healing. The reason is we are integrated. Our chakras are releasing trauma. They are focused on our growth in energy. We are cellularly regenerating daily. We are feeling better. We are more aware. We are less reactive. So you hear your gifts better. They amplify massively. That's also why I tell people the order of the reports is that order for a reason. Report 1 is those really deep energetic wounds, traumas and scars. Negative attachments. Report 1 goes over this kind of energy. Report 2 goes over each individual chakra and the lives stuck in it that create blocks in this life, right? And then we start the integration process. And report 3 is gifts, because gifts are a side effect of healing. That is why so many people here on earth are not aligned to their intuition, not aligned to their gifts, and not aware of their massive, amazing potential, because they don't know how to react to the soul's traumas. They get stuck, they get complacent, and they allow limitation. So it is absolutely fascinating and tremendous and limitless in so many ways. And I just had to create the video because I feel like people allow themselves to be stuck because they don't think that there's a way out. They don't think that there's some amazing thing that they could do about it, that they could even grow or amplify their gifts. And yes, we all have gifts. Everybody here on earth has gifts. Whether or not they access those gifts is up to the action they take to heal. And I've had people come to me that are 60 years old and have been using what they thought was a psychic gift for so long, all of a sudden get their report, all of a sudden is a completely different gift structure, all of a sudden their gifts are amplifying, evolving, growing, stronger, more clear. That's what awareness does for us. When we don't know how our energy functions and how our energy fuels our gifts, we are essentially diverting energy to other focuses. And it's kind of like starving our own gift structure. A gift report tells you exactly where to focus your energy so that that thrives. It's like a branch of a tree. It grows, it expands, it evolves, because our focus is exactly where it should be. So that's what I wanted to talk about today. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Mini home quarantine school video from the car. Thank you for listening in. And if you guys have any questions, please ask.